Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening around the world. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Blackjack. Today, as always, I'll be doing a YouTube deck tech from the comment section for you guys. If you're interested in having me put a deck together for you or help you tweak a list you're trying to work on, I'm looking for any of the 5 metrics in the comment section. A bracket, a budget, a theme, a commander, and any pet cards you might have. I'll also leave a link to my Discord down below. It's a great place to drop a deck list off and have me take a look and work on it. Today, we have a request from the user Fiscal asking for Kuja, Genome Sorcerer. No particular parameters to work within, just wanted to see how I would put it together. So this is a deck I've been interested in quite a long time. I'm glad you recommended it. Rakdos, a black, a red, and 2 colorless for Kuja. At the beginning of your end step, create a tapped 0/1 black wizard creature token with whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this token deals 1 damage to each opponent. Then if you control 4 or more wizards, transform Kuja. Notably, he is a wizard himself, and if he transforms, if a wizard you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage instead. So, goes without saying, this is a spell slinging burn deck. How we're going to take our opponents out of the game is incremental damage over time with a bunch, ideally, a bunch of wizards that ping you every time you cast a spell. So not a ton of creatures here, but most of them are here for the purpose of dealing damage. An Anthomancer deals damage equal to number of non-basics. Bloodline Necromancer can let you buy one of these wizards back later in the game. Mage is kind of like a mini commander. Whenever you cast a spell, deal 1 damage to each opponent. Dual Caster Mage is a wizard that can copy stuff. Electrostatic Field is for damage. Erebor, same thing. Firebrand Archer, Gutter Snipe, Flame Breather, Lawn Shot. Let's see here. Destined Black Mage, Thermo Alchemist, Torwalkie. All of these are here for the same purpose of even Gleeful Arsonist, dealing incremental damage over time to our opponents whenever we cast a spell, or in the Arsonist case, whenever they cast a non-creature spell. Harmonic Prodigy lets you double up on all of these triggers. Sulfim will increase the amount of damage you're dealing. Stormkiln Artist will generate treasures. And then you also have Urabrass to add damage on and also add red mana every time you're doing what you want to be, which is casting instants and sorceries. So 18 creatures, not very many, but we need to have room for a lot of instants and sorceries. Bolt Wave in order to deal damage to everybody. Circle of Power for a little bit of card draw, as well as Night's Whisper, Read the Bones, and Sign in Blood, Faithless Looting. All of these let you draw a couple of cards, and some of them have the added benefit of this one in particular, giving your guys, your wizards, lifelink and making one of your tokens. Cornered by Black Mages, create one of those wizards, and then also target opponent sacks a creature. Crippling Fear is a one-sided board wipe. Mizzix's Mastery is a win condition. You're playing this mid to late game when you have a stocked graveyard, casting all of the spells with the overload out of the graveyard, or not out of the graveyard, but with the overload, and eventually you're going to cast so many spells that it's just going to take people out. Vandal Blast artifacts will the Jeskai to get some extra card draw as well as giving flashback to our stuff. So we have a total of 11 sorceries and then 17 instants. So we are at 28, approaching 30. More card draw here. Things like Big Score, Deadly Dispute, Demand Answers, Laughing Mad, Thrill of Possibilities, Unexpected Windfall. All of these allow you to discard excess lands. You're going to be drawing quite a few cards in this deck, so even though you're playing 37 lands, a couple of them are MDFCs, but if you have excess lands, feel free to discard them to effects like Big Score or Laughing Mad to continue the party, keep drawing stuff. Dark Ritual for a one-off ramp piece, and then you also have things like Feign Death, Malakir Rebirth, Not Dead After All, Undying Malice. All of these are ways to protect your commander. So obviously if you were playing green, you could play things like Heroic Intervention. There's also a world where you could play Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots, but I'm just not really convinced that it's necessary here. I like these type of effects that not only keep your commander around, but also are acting as an instant and activating, ideally, a bunch of triggers on your side of the field to deal damage. Redirect Lightning, a little way to, possibly counter a spell, quote unquote. Snuff Out as free removal. Transpose will allow you to draw a card, and then you lose 1 life if the spell was cast from your hand. You make one of your tokens, and then it has rebound. Vivi's Persistence creates one of your tokens, and then when your commander enters or attacks, you can pay 2 to buy it back. And then Wizard's Lightning is just another lightning bolt, but it's on theme, so it's cool. 10 pieces of ramp, as always: Arcane Signet, Charcoal Diamond, Ebony Fly, Felwar, Fire Diamond, Thought Vessel, Talisman, Soul Rain, Rakdos, Mind Stone. I like to stay at 10. I like to stay consistent with most of my decks, so that way I don't ever have any non-games. It may not seem super important to ramp in a deck like this. However, getting Kuja out on turn 3 instead of turn 2 can be extremely powerful for your deck, obviously, right? So having a consistent amount of ramp, and then in the mid to late game, if you don't need it and you draw it, you can discard it to something like a big score or an unexpected windfall. Black Mage's Rod, when this enters, you create a hero, and then equipped creature has basically the exact same abilities as one of your tokens. Enchantments, we have 5 Artist Talent, a good way to make your stuff cheaper to cycle through your deck and then eventually to add damage onto your spells. Black Market Connections and Phyrexian Arena for card draw. Black Market Connections is even better here because you can make treasures and you can make shapeshifters, which have every creature type, so they're wizards. Collective Inferno, you can convoke this out to double all the damage that sources you control would deal, and then Fiery Inscription will deal 2 damage when it recasts an instant or sorcery. So these are ways to add damage onto what we're casting. 37 lands, 38 including MDFCs. Nothing here is necessary. Nothing here is particularly earth-shattering. Lindblum can make one of your tokens, but other than that, I wouldn't really worry about it. Just do the best with what you have. When you're playing a 2-color deck, you can get away with playing quite a lot of basics. I did leave you a fairly big considering section, so what I want to say about this is, if I were to build this deck, knowing that my table likes to play around bracket 3, a little bit higher power, a step up from precons, these are the cards that I would play with. So you can see I have all of these one-off ramp pieces, these ritual effects, deflecting SWAT, Tibalt's Trickery for protection, but the rest of this is essentially rituals to make mana quickly, and then eventually Past in Flames to storm off. So these are the cards that I would add if I was playing around a bracket 3 level. As far as what to cut, I'd probably end up shaving a land and then just, after playing with it a little bit, cut some cards that I wasn't super impressed with. But I would only do that if you do want to play at a higher bracket. You did say in your comments that you're playing with like Precon Plus right now. I would probably stick with this, play it, see how it feels, and then as your table starts to upgrade their precons and explore a little bit more with deck building, feel free to go into the considering section and add those things in. Like I said, those are probably what I would play with at a bracket 3 table. But overall, I think the deck looks like a ton of fun. I like burn decks. You know, when you start to play Commander a lot, you realize the only real issue with Commander as a format is the games just take so long. It's mid-range hell. Everyone's taking 6 turns to build up their engine and get all their cogs in place to start turning the wheel, and everybody's just can't casting rampant growths and things like that. And all of a sudden you find yourself an hour and a half later in a 12-turn game where everybody's just deploying all these big creatures and all these great engine pieces, and that can be a lot of fun. But at the end of the night, when you have time for like one more game but you only have 45 minutes, it's really important that you have a deck that isn't looking to drag the game out for 2 hours and create a giant engine. A deck like this is perfect for that moment where you are speeding the game up. Don't get me twisted, you are going to be a polarizing threat at the table. You are dealing incremental damage to everyone at the table. Traditionally, that's not going to make people happy. So you need to understand that you are going to be targeted a lot. Kuja's going to try to be killed a lot. That's why we're playing so many of these abilities that feign death and things like that to keep Kuja alive. But this is the perfect deck to speed the game up and start to teach yourself and the table at large how to play the game a little bit more quickly and how to properly threat assess versus everybody do their own thing for 6 turns and then we'll meet when we all have all of our resources and just battle cruiser into each other for an hour. So a little bit of dichotomy of what you're interested in there, but overall, I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for rambling at the end. Let me know how it plays out, and as always, Godspeed.